Hi, I'm Chris Moore with Senior Remodeling Experts. Today on Tuesday Toolbox, we're going to do a little different kind of home modification. Usually we talk about home modifications as increasing safety and accessibility within the home. Well, today I'm in my house and we're taking the dining room that we seldom use and we're turning it into my library where I'm going to be continuing to produce more of these videos, which I hope you're getting a lot out of. So what we're going to do today is we're going to put doors on these two cased openings leading into this library so we can close the doors when we're recording. And this particular door, you can tell that it used to have a door on it. You can see where the hinge mortises have been filled in. So we're going to mortise those back out for hinges. We're going to hang a new door on this opening, put up some door stop, and put some locks on it. So let's get started. So first of all, I've located where this top hinge used to be, and I'm going to mark out where I'm going to put the new hinge. And then the same thing on the bottom. You can see where this old one's been filled in. Use that as the center. Hello, Ember. Are you helping? Okay. In this house, like a lot of older houses, the doors only had 2 hinges, but I'm going to put 3 on it. So I'm going to get a point halfway between these two and mark a third one. So 58 3/4, so that's my center point. And then I'm going to go 1 3/4 inches in each direction. So that's 12 and then 15.5 for my 3.5 inch hinge. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing on the other door, and then we're going to cut out these hinge recesses. So now that we've got our hinges marked out, I'm going to use an oscillating tool, what we affectionately refer to as a muncher, to mortise out these recesses for the hinges. So the muncher generates a lot of dust, and normally we would take time to set up containment and plastic walls and an air scrubber. But being that I'm working in my house, we're going to skip all that, and we're just going to cut out these hinge mortises with a chisel to reduce the amount of dust production. So you want to continue until your hinge is flush with the wood. And then we'll go ahead, when we get it to there, we'll go ahead and mark the screw holes. And then we'll go on to the next one.
For the next step, we're going to drill pilot holes and install the hinges.
So since we're doing Tuesday Toolbox, I'm going to introduce you to the rolling toolbox. This is our workshop trailer that we built several years ago. My son Cody and I spent a winter building out this tool trailer. The winter before he joined the Air Force, so really hasn't been used a whole lot in a couple of years, and we're going to be cleaning it out and organizing it and getting it going again. But we got the doors right here that we're going to be using, so we'll go ahead and get those out and start prepping those to be installed. Okay, so now we're going to prep the door. Because the opening is a little bit wider than 30 inches, a 30-inch door, I'm not going to recess the hinges, just so it's more centered in the opening. So I'm going to mark where the hinges are going to go. I've already measured the location on the jamb. Probably noticed I'm set up in the shade, but the shade is coming this way, so I want to get it done. Heard of a shade tree mechanic? Well, today you got a shade tree carpenter. Okay, now because the door opening is a little shorter than the door, I got to cut the door off. So I'm going to start with a pencil mark, and then I'm going to take my utility knife and cut along that line. And then I'm also going to put a piece of masking tape on there to prevent any splintering. We're going to prep for the lock. Two and 1/8 inch hole. I'm going to flip the door over and finish it from the other side. And the reason for that is to prevent any chance of the edge of this hole being boogered up. And then I'm going to drill a 7/8 inch hole in the edge of the door for the strike. Okay, so we got the door. We had a little trouble lining up the bottom hinge, so we loosened up the screws holding the hinge to the door to get the pin in, then we're going to tighten it up. And we're noticing that the door's rubbing a little bit here at the top. My original opening is a little out of square, so I'm going to mark that and shave it. And then it's a little tight there at the bottom. You should have an even reveal all the way around your door. So you can see how it's tight there at the bottom, and it's a little loose up here at the top. So we're going to shave this down here just a little bit and shave this corner a little bit. And then also you'll notice that the hinges are bound just a little bit. When I push the door shut, it springs back open. So we're going to have to adjust the placement of this hinge. Probably put a little shim behind this top hinge to get that to, should say stay shut. It should stay open. You hear people talking about they have ghosts in their house because they open the doors and the doors shut by themselves. It's because the door is out of plumb and gravity is making the door shut. So it stays open by itself, stays halfway open. So just need to work on these hinges a little bit and shave the door down a couple places, put the lock on, and then put the door stop back on, and we'll be done. So now this is my mark where I'm going to take it down to. So I'm going to get the planer out. Same thing on the top. Okay, so we got the door shaved down, and if you recall, the hinges were sprung just a little bit, so when we pushed the door shut, it was trying to open by itself. So I checked these hinges. The middle one is flush. The top and the bottom one are a little bit in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shim these out just a little bit. And by just a little bit, I mean a business card folded into thirds. And there was no real measurement involved in the thirds, just based on what it felt like it needed. We'll see when we put the door back up if I was right. Business card works great for this because typical business card is 3.5 inches. And these are 3.5 inch hinges. So, let's try this again. There we go. Ta-da! All right, now we're going to put the lock on. All right, so put the strike back in. Mark the holes. Now, when you tighten these screws up, it's best just to use a manual screwdriver. You want to over tighten them, and if you're using an impact or a drill, it's hard to get it straight unless you got a long extension, and even then you end up putting too much torque on and stripping them if you're not careful. Okay, now mark the center
where the strike hits the jamb.
See, all this is filler, where they fill this back in, where it used to be a door. And so it's kind of just breaking rather than, so we'll probably have to fill some of it back in when we paint. So I'm cutting the door stop now. I got measurements. I made a little jig because the bottom of the door stop, there's a change in elevation. So that's what the bottom of it needs to look like. So the right side is 78 3/8 from the long point. And then I use my little jig here. Mark this shape on the bottom. So that's what the bottom has got to look like. Now most people probably would have just cut that off square and not worried about all that, but I like to go the extra mile. Okay, so there's the right piece. And then the left piece is on this side. And this side is 78 9/16. And the top piece is 30 3/8. You can see a few spots, especially right here, where there's a pretty good gap between the door and the stop. Up here it's flush, down there it's flush, so we've got a gap here. So we're gonna just tap that over a little bit. Worked. Okay, so this door we're going to do a little differently. We're going to mortise the hinges into the door because the opening is pretty close to 30 inches, maybe 30 and an 8. So that's what we're going to mark out where the hinges go right now. Okay, so I'm on the top hinge now, and I'm getting ready more to sit out, and I'm using the muncher. It would be a lot quicker if I had a router and a jig, but I don't have that, so we're doing it this way. We did the ones inside with the chisel, just so we wouldn't make dust everywhere. So there's different ways to accomplish different things, but we're doing this one with the oscillating tool, otherwise known as the muncher. Okay. And once again, like on the other door, we'll make a cut line with a utility knife and put some masking tape on to prevent any splintering. And the nice thing about these doors, they're solid core doors. We got those to help keep the sound isolated. So when you cut this off, you've already got something in there. If you use a hollow core door, if you cut too much off the bottom, you're gonna have to put an insert back in to fill the bottom of the door in. All right, and we're going to get ready to bore our holes for our lock set. Using the 2 3/8 back set, which is standard. And then we're going to go 11/16 each way to find the center. Okay, now we're going to drill our pilot holes. All right, here we go. It's hitting on the stop. See, the stop was already on this one. So I've got to either shave the stop back or move the door over. I think it'd be easier to shave the stop back. All right, so we're going to put the lock on. Okay, we got to put the strike plate on. But I just now realized, after I put this lock on, that I put the one on the other door backwards. Notice how this is down the bottom, and that's up top. So what should we do about it? perhaps they're reversible. So, once again, pushing on the pin, pull out on the handle. Do the same thing on the other side. All better. So now we have doors on the library so that we can record videos in here and not disturb the rest of the house, and noises from out there won't come in, and just a little more private. So this is the door leading into the kitchen. And then over here we have the door leading into the hallway. And we have a sign that we're going to hang up so that when I'm recording, people will know I'm on the air. So very excited to get this completed and to continue to bring you videos about what we're doing here at Senior Remodeling Experts and how we're changing the face of aging and making you realize that the rest of your life can be the best of your life. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.